Hey guys, it's Hillary. Welcome back to my channel, Enneagram and Coaching. I'm your certified Enneagram coach. That's a type 9, wing 8 on the Enneagram. And today I want to go over the common mistypes of a type 9. I want to go over the type 9 with every number. Does that make sense? Where it's kind of like mistypes and reasons why the 9 can look like each number. Let's go over that today. And because I know as a type 9, I landed on the 9 right away, but there are times where I feel like a 1. There are times where I feel like an 8. We totally know why. Those are the wings that I have access to. But sometimes I feel like a 7. Why? Sometimes I feel like a 6. Okay, that one we can explain a little better because I go towards a 6 in stress. I felt like a 5. I felt like a 4. I felt like a 3. The 3 we can explain because I go towards the 3 in health, right? But even the 2 and the 1. So I realize the 9 is at the top, and I know that the 9 can merge with all 9 types and feel like them at any given time. And so that does explain it a little bit, why the 9 might look like each number. In case that you are a 9 or you're a different number and you're feeling like maybe I'm a 9, hopefully this will help you understand your type better and land on your type. Okay, so I want to start with the type 9 and the 1. It's common for 9s to think that they are 1s because the 9 has a 1 wing, right? They have access to the 1. So a 9 might think that they are 1 because they have a loud inner critic. So that is what the 1s have. The 1s have that loud, mean inner critic. And so a 9 actually can have that inner critic too, but their inner critic messages are extremely different. The 9's inner critic is more upset with themselves because they're not making people happy or they're not being good enough. Because what's their desire? Peace, inner stability, and peace of mind, right? And so for them, that inner critic can attack them when those 3 things are affected. And so the 1, they have an inner critic too, right? And their inner critic is not focused on making people happy. It's more focused on what's right or wrong, ethics, morals, are the rules being followed, that kind of thing. That's the difference between the inner critic between the type 9 and the type 1. So if you've been deciding between the 9 and the 1, hopefully this helped you understand it a little better and how different that inner critic is inside the type 9 and inside the type 1. So let's move on to the 9 with the 2. Okay guys, so this one is the most common mistype. The 9 and 2, I can't tell you how many times when I am doing a Discover You typing session, or even just talking to my friends or anyone, or answering comments from people on here on YouTube, it is one of the most common mistypings. So the reason is both of them are focused on others, being kind, warm, supportive, personal. You know, those are all traits that the 9 and the 2, they share those traits. But the best way to look between the 9 and the 2 is what do they look like when they're not their healthiest? Because when the type 2s are going after that love and affirmation, they're actually going to be more direct and more bold and more assertive. They're going to go after it because that's what their heart needs. Their heart needs that love and affirmation from other people. And when they're not at their healthiest level, that's when they're going to be bold. That's when they're going to be assertive. And they're going to, if people need help, they're going to insert their help right away. The type 9s, they will do the complete opposite when they're not at their healthiest. Because a 9, when they see a need, they're gonna offer their help, but they're not gonna be like assertive or bold. A type 9 will never insert themselves into the lives of others when they're not asked. That is not who they are. They're not gonna bulldoze through. They're actually gonna pull back and withdraw if, you know, especially if they're not at their healthiest. Because why? They fear upsetting everybody, right? They fear that they're going to cause conflict, upset people, loss and separation of that relationship. They're not confident in that. They worry that people will not want to be their friends anymore or not love them anymore. So they're not going to boldly go after that. Especially when they're not healthy. Or that's a good way to look at it if you're deciding between a 9 or a 2. Kind of go into those cores, right? The core fears and the core desires and the average to unhealthy levels, and look at those. And what I use today is just going to that average to unhealthy level. What does that look like when they want to help people? And so that's one of the differences between the 9 and the 2. So let's move on to the type 9 and the type 3. Okay, so the type 3 and the type 9, I will say the type 3 doesn't mistype as the type 9 hardly ever, but the type 9 can mistype as the type 3. Because a type 9, when they're healthy, when they're going towards that healthy arrow, they could be a go-getter. They could go after what they want and what they desire. They could be super active and accomplish a ton of things. And I will say that's how I'm able to do YouTube as a type 9. I have to be so aware and stay in a healthy place in order to keep moving forward and going after my goals. So that's where I can look like a type 3, and I have gotten comments before that maybe you're just a type 3. No, no, no. The core of who I am is a type 9. And then the type 3, they know what they want. They go after it right away. They can stay in their lane. They will literally go after their goal. They will not let anything derail them. They see the goal. They want to go there. And that's not the 9. The 9, they might have goals, you know, especially when they're healthy and going after those goals. But the 9 actually can be derailed. They actually can have this internal fog that can hinder them from knowing themselves, knowing their own desires, going after it. And so, especially so if they're not healthy, if they're not, you know, moving towards that 3, this is what can happen in the 9. They have this ability to merge with others and be what everyone wants. A good way to look at this is if you ask a type 3, what are your goals for the next like 3 to 5 years? I guarantee you they're going to come up with like 10. They have them. They've thought of them. They're very future focused. And so they know their goals. So, and if you ask a type 9, what are your goals for the next 3 to 5 years? They're going to struggle. Myself, like I said, I go towards my healthy arrow. That's how I'm able to show up to YouTube and show up to do the things that I'm called to do. A lot of prayer goes into this also, and God like giving me that strength. But I know some goals for the year and I have them written down right in front of me. And I have to keep them in front of me. Otherwise I forget them. I have to just keep focused and stay in my own lane. I will say, those are the biggest differences between the type 3 and the type 9. You know, one knows their goals, one knows where they're going, the other one struggles, and it takes them a bit more time and effort and thinking because, you know, they don't know what everybody else around them is going to want them to do, and that can come into play for a type 9. And so, you know, one of the type 9's main goals is keeping the peace. And so those are the biggest differences, I would say, between the type 3 and the type 9. Okay, moving on to the type 4 and the type 9. Again, this is one that's similar to the type 3. It is more common for a type 9 to mistype as a type 4 versus the other way around. A type 4 doesn't necessarily mistype as a 9 very often. It can happen, but it's not something that often happens. But the type 9 can mistype as a 4. And I will tell you guys, there are some times where I'm like, am I a type 4? But what I can relate to mostly with the type 4 is that they never feel normal, and that they're, you know, that deadly sin of envy, of being envious of everyone else appearing normal and something's missing in them. I can relate to that so much, and I have to fight that. But what that actually is for the type 9 is our wounding childhood message, which is it's not okay to assert yourself. What we need to hear is your presence matters. And so we have this broken record playing in our head saying your presence doesn't matter. And so that could be very similar to the 4s, right? So they both are in that withdrawing stance. And if you don't know what a stance is, I'll link the video down below. I've done a whole video on stances. And so the 4, 5, and 9, they are in that withdrawing stance. And so they do have those similarities. A 9, we're going to withdraw from anything that's uncomfortable internally or externally. If it's uncomfortable, we're going to withdraw. A type 9 will disengage from their thoughts and their feelings in order to keep their inner world peaceful and then everything just free of tension. So they're going to withdraw to the safe place inside of them in order to get their needs met. And the type 4, they're actually just going to withdraw from the external world. This external world, it would have caused painful feelings in them, and so that's what makes them withdraw. But the type 4, they will not disconnect from their emotions. A type 9, they will disconnect from their emotions. The type 4, heck no. They're going to stay in their emotions. They're going to live in their emotions, and they're going to feel those out, and they're going to work through those emotions. The type 9, they prefer to see things through the rose-colored glasses, which I totally relate to. Oh my gosh, my husband would be like spot on. I do see everything through these rose-colored glasses. And actually, one of my good friends, she always says that too. And I can't help it, you know, that is what brings me the most peace. And so that's where I choose to live. A 4, they see the world as an outsider looking in, and all I see is that they're lacking something. And so that's the difference between the 9 and the 4 and how they can appear like each other, but they're definitely different from each other. So let's move on to the type 5 and the type 9. Okay, here's another one where type 9s can actually look like a type 5 and mistype as a type 5. It is a theme because like at the beginning I said, they can merge with all types and look like all types, and so that definitely comes into play. But usually type 5s will not mistype as a type 9 because they both they fear obligations. They do not want obligations being put on them. I can attest to that. I need freedom. It's one of my core values, but the 5 also does too, for different reasons. But both the 5 and the 9, they both love knowledge. They both love learning, and they both can withdraw, right? Because they're both in that withdrawal stance. That's how they're similar. But the 9, they don't know who they are. they have a hard time understanding who they are as a person. And a 9, they'll ignore everything that disturbs their peace of mind, right? They are going to ignore, they're going to withdraw. They don't want their peace of mind disturbed. A 5, heck no. They're going to dive right into the knowledge, the details. They're going to do a ton of research. It doesn't scare them. It doesn't disturb their peace or anything like that. And so those are some major differences between the 9 and the 5. And then also the 9s, we're easygoing, right? We're go with the flow. It's not a big deal. And the 5, not so much. They're highly opinionated. They're more intense. They have no problem arguing their thoughts, their beliefs, their feelings. Let's be honest, as a 9, more than likely I'm not going to do that. It depends. If it goes against me morally, and I believe that peace will ultimately happen, I might push through that and do that, but not really. The type 5, they just don't mind arguing their thoughts and their beliefs. They're like, let's go. I've done enough research. Now, they're not going to go and argue with everybody. They don't trust as easily as a 9, and they're a little more suspicious. And that 9, we're more trusting of others. And so those are some big differences too between the 5 and the 9. So let's move on to the type 6. And the type 9. Okay guys, so again, this is a common mistyping. Why? I actually have thought I'm a 6. I go towards my stress arrow a lot. I hate to admit that, but I do. I have a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of fears. While this is a common mistyping, the type 9 and the type 6, they deal with conflicts and problems very differently. Remember, the 9, they want to keep their inner world super peaceful, steady. They don't want to be affected by life. They want to go with the flow. They're less likely to be affected by life's ups and downs. They pull away and they stay in that safe space. But the 6 in conflict, they're more passionate and intense. The 9s, not so much. Except if it's like with the really, really safe people. I like to think of it as, say there's like a fuse, a really long fuse, right? And at the end is like a rocket or a little mini, I don't know. I'm thinking like a cartoon rocket. And that fuse, like, it takes forever. It's burning, it's burning, it's burning. And then finally they blow. That is the 9, not the 6. They don't have a slow fuse. They're fine with conflict. They'll be more intense and passionate about it. It's not as big of a deal to them. And I would say the 6s, they don't easily trust people. The 9s do, right? I trust anybody. 6s, heck no. They don't easily trust at all. And the 6s, their mind is constantly racing with what can happen, what can happen, what can happen. I do have that sometimes, but only under stress. I don't necessarily walk into the room and think of like, any problems that can arise. I'm actually pretty like la 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 most of the time, except those few times where I'm really under stress and I'll have those thoughts of like anxiety and fear. I do feel like everything works out in the end. A 9 also, they'll disassociate, right? When things get really crazy, they're gonna withdraw and go inward so that they can find that safe space. A 6, they want to vent. They want to get it out. They want to talk it through all the way through because they have anxiety. And so for them, talking it all the way through will help their anxiety. And so they're not afraid to talk it all through at all. And the 9, we're like, that feels like I'm going to expend a lot of energy. I'm probably not going to do that. Can you guys relate? If you're a type 9, please let me know in the comment box below that I'm not alone in this. But yeah, so, okay. Let's move on to the type 9 and the type 7. To be honest, these two totally get mistyped as each other because they're both optimists, right? They're in that, I forget what it's called, but the 2, 7, and 9 are in that more optimistic space. They are both optimistics and want to connect with each other, and that's what they share. And especially if a 9 is an extrovert, they could mistype as a 7. Both the 7 and 9, they're escapists. They flee conflict, they flee problems. They don't want to deal with them. But the difference is the 9, we withdraw. The 7, they just don't deal with it. They don't want to deal with that. So they go after adventure and experiences, and their core weakness is gluttony, right? So they just go after, it's not a food thing, it's a experience thing. So in order to not deal with feelings and emotions, they can go after so many things and so many experiences and whatever that looks like for the 7. Oh, I just spilled coffee on myself. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink. Put it down. Otherwise, I'm gonna make a huge mess. So, but the big difference is a 7, they know what they want and they go after it. Not so much a 9, right? Because like I said, they're primarily focused on filling themselves up to escape from that emptiness that they might have inside. And remember that 9, we kind of have that internal fog that hinders us from knowing our own wants, desires, feelings, and the 7 doesn't have that. And so those are the major differences between the type 7 and the type 9. So let's move on to the type 7 and the type 8. Is this a common mistype? No, this is not common. It is not common for an 8 to mistype as a 9 or a 9 to mistype as an 8. And the biggest reason, we are fleeing from conflict and tension. We don't want it. At the core of us, we're like, no, that is super scary for a type 9, not scary for a type 8. They're okay with conflict. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like they want to do conflict. They're just comfortable with conflict. They're not afraid of it. And to be honest, the less healthy the type is, the more likely for them to show their anger. And the 9, no way. Like I said earlier, that fuse, it takes a long time for a 9 to get mad. And when they do blow. But it's very short-lived. At least for me, it's very short-lived. Because what do? I withdraw and shut down. But not the 8. They're in that assertive stance. They do not withdraw to get their needs met like the 9 does. An 8, they're confident, direct, can be abrasive. But a 9, we're more gentle, more over-accommodating though. Probably not healthy all the time, but we do accommodate a ton. And we're out of touch with ourselves. And the 8s, they want the control and power. The 9, we just want peace of mind. Those are the biggest differences between the type 8 and the type 9. But I will say I'm a type 9 with an 8 wing. And I'm so thankful that I've learned to use some of those amazing qualities from the type 8 because they serve me well in my everyday life. And then also I use some of the 1 too, but I used to totally use more 1 wing. I used to actually call myself a 9 wing 1, but over time I've developed some more of those qualities of the 8. And I really see that 8 wing show up so much more than the 1 wing at this stage of my life. But if you're wondering like, okay, what is my wing? I don't understand the wings. The wings are always the numbers beside your dominant number. And then usually you have a dominant wing. And so I'm a 9 with a dominant wing of an 8. But if you want to know more about your wing, I will link in the description box below the 9 wing because this video is so mostly focused on 9 with each type. But if you're not a 9 and you're watching this, go, I definitely have videos for all 9 types and their wings. So, and then don't forget, go watch the stances video. It will help you understand yourself even more. This video is probably way too long. I just kind of wanted to go over the common mistypings of the type 9. And if you want me to do your type, let me know. I can do all the types and do a whole video series. So if you'd like that, let me know in the comment box below. But that's all I have for today, guys. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find me at Hillary_McCaskey_coaching. I also have another Instagram, Enneagram and Coaching. Either of those you'll find me at. I have not put anything on the Enneagram and Coaching for so long. I need to push through and I need to do better with that account. Hold me accountable to that. I would like to add some stuff to that in the next week or 2. And I also have this, blueprint now that you can purchase on my website. And it's just a really easy understanding of the Enneagram. It kind of goes over the core motivations, levels of health, wings, tells you a little bit of what a triad is and the growth and stress lines. You know, I go into more detail on the core motivations and levels of health and different things like that. And then every page is just for each type. So it's just a brief like, okay, I just need to know real fast what is the wings of the 2. This is a great resource to have. So anyways, it's on my website and I've got that link down below. But that's all I have today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe because I have so many more videos coming your way. I love teaching you guys the Enneagram because I just feel like it helps us understand each other and love each other better and care for each other better and have more grace for each other. You guys know I'm a broken record on this, but I really believe that we can use the Enneagram as a tool, a personality typing tool to help ourselves grow and help us love others better. That's all. Anyways, I have to end this, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.